Here we go. Wally, you're taking us through the sequel.
With your
We're not
lava
back?
lamp on.
Yeah, we got the
Are we
lava
back?
lamp on.
Yeah,
Like that.
It's actually it's
Yep.
working.
We're live, pal.
Took about an hour and a half for it to get going, but we're good.
Solid.
So, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I picked it because I had no idea that I was up, and Murray just watched the last one. So
Before we get into this for real, I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay.
Who's technically up next so they can start making decisions about what they want to watch next?
So I had
Okay.
something in mind, but
Okay,
then I tried
alright.
to find it. I couldn't find it, so I might have to find something else.
Okay.
All right.
Well, at least we can decide
yeah.
before we end. Okay.
Right, then
We've
it's
got-
me
we've got
after
notice.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got it.
All right, so we start in Missouri in 1980. We hear Brandy playing on the radio as Peter Quill's mom is singing along, and she's being driven by Kurt Russell. They
A
pull
very
over and
weirdly CGI younger looking Kurt Russell.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, he had sunglasses on the whole time, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a
So
little smoothed out.
He
yeah,
looked very weird. But he's also an alien, too, so I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point. Why
Spoiler
would he
much.
look so old at the end?
Because he wanted
I
to
don't
look... I'm guessing he wanted to... Because he said, I
He
couldn't...
literally let himself age.
He said, I couldn't decide what form to take to make you more comfortable.
Right.
'Cause he was going to be David Hasselhoff,
Yeah.
but he thought that would be too weird, which is a funny little bit. But
That is true.
I think it's because he wanted to, like, age himself appropriate for when
Mhm.
he
All right,
found him.
that's fair. All right. Fair.
To not freak him out and be like, hi, I'm 20. I'm 20-year-old Kurt Russell.
So they pull over in an old-looking Dairy Queen, I believe,
Yes.
DQ, and he brings her
Fascinating.
into the woods. Yep, and he shows her a space flower and says that it's eventually going to grow all over the universe. 34 years later, we see the Guardians are protecting a platform that has very, very valuable batteries. And they're on the platform because they know an interdimensional monster is going to come and try to eat the batteries or something like that.
This
Right.
opening song and scene is so good. It's almost even better than the first movie's song and scene.
It's better. It is better.
I think it is just because and Mr. Blue Sky by maybe the most underrated band of all time, ELO.
Who have like a million hits that you don't realize.
Jeff Beck is just unbelievable.
So many hits.
So many hits. Such a good song, and this scene is so good, especially with the part with little Baby Groot.
Baby Groot. Yep.
Yeah.
So Rocket is fixing a speaker so that they can listen to music because he blames Peter for wanting to listen to music, and Drax says that's not important, and Peter agrees with him. But Rocket thinks he's being sarcastic, so he
That's
gives
what
him the
That bit, bit throughout
it's
the whole
not
movie.
important.
Yes.
He
Where
doesn't know how to.
Everyone knows he's winking. Oh, yeah, they're totally not douchebags.
We see Baby Groot attacking little rat-like monsters, and then the interdimensional monster shows up. The Guardians start fighting him, and Baby Groot plugs in the music as we watch him dance around for a little while. And in the background of his dancing, we see all of them trying to fight this monster.
Oh, great how they focus on the baby instead of the actual fight.
Because we've seen a million of these things
Yeah,
in movies,
right.
so why not do something different?
Yeah, so
Mhm.
fun.
Eventually, Drax gets tossed onto the speaker, and he breaks it. So Baby Groot starts hitting him. Drax tells Gamora that the monster's hide is too thick from the outside, so he must go inside and cut his way out from the inside.
Skin's thinner on the inside.
She tries to stop him.
That's not a thing.
She tries to stop him, but he gets swallowed whole.
Yep.
And Peter goes, "What is he doing?" And she tells him, and he's like, "That's stupid because obviously it's the same thickness from the inside as the outside." And then they cut to him inside, just
Yeah, that's a great cut where he's stabbing the inside of the monster.
Then Peter and Rocket start forcing the monster to look up so Gamora can shoot at the cut on its throat. She eventually pulls out her sword and jumps and slices the monster, like guts him. And Drax falls out and he says, "I've single-handedly defeated the beast." He really is the best part of this movie.
Him and Baby Groot really are.
Yeah. Yep.
And Drax was great in the first one, but he went to another level.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense in this though.
What's
What'd you
that?
say?
Drax doesn't always make sense in this one. Like for someone who's not supposed to like understand any nuance or any like who's supposed to be just straight ahead, he says and does things that don't make sense.
Yeah, he's trying to fit in more, I think,
Yeah.
by joking around and stuff. That's why when like they meet what's her name, Mantis, and
Mantis.
he just tries to make jokes and no one understands. They're like, what the fuck?
May I pet your puppy? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah.
So the Guardians go to the Sovereign, who are their employers, and Peter.
These guys are
flirts with their
great. The
queen.
Sovereign are really fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fun group.
Peter flirts with the Queen. They get Nebula as their price for protecting the batteries. The Queen asks Peter about his heritage, and he tells her that his dad's not from Missouri. She tells him that she sees something strange in his DNA. And then we get another Rocket not knowing how to properly wink at people, and he insults the Queen and winks right at her. "Oh, I'm sorry, that was supposed to be behind your back." As they're leaving, he shows Drax that he stole some of their batteries. We see Guardians on the ship, and Peter and Gamora talk about his father and Peter's flirting. She walks away, and Drax tells him that they're not meant to be, and he tells him about his dead wife and that Peter just needs to find a girl who is pathetic like him. They start flying away when the Sovereign's fleet begins following them, and Drax tells them it's because Rocket stole some of the batteries. Peter mocks Rocket, who doesn't realize it until Peter literally tells him, "No, I'm being sarcastic." "Oh, you're supposed to use your sarcastic voice. Now I look like an idiot."
Yeah,
Peter's much more of a leader in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Than he was in the first. He's like a goofy guy who is just trying to get by. And this one, he's like, why would you steal the batteries? Like, instead of being like kind of goofy about it. It's like, no, I'm the leader. Don't do that.
Yeah. Gamora tells them that all the fleet ships are unmanned, and we see the Queen, who tells her followers that they can start to shoot with the intent to kill. Gamora tells them to get to the jump point, they need to go through a quantum asteroid field, that's pretty cool. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that the Sovereign's ships work, where they're not actually in them,
Yeah.
is cool too.
Yeah. They're just like playing like a video game, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like an arcade game.
Yeah. Rocket and Peter fight for control of the ship, like piloting the ship as they go through the asteroid field, and eventually it causes them to get hit by an asteroid. There's one Sovereign ship behind them, so Drax attaches himself to the ship and jumps out the back of it to shoot it down. Then they leave the asteroid field just as the rest of the Sovereign fleet shows up on the other side, because they just went around it like, you would. They start pummeling the ship, but then the fleet is destroyed. We see a tiny little guy about that big, flying by on the top of a white spaceship.
Like a white egg.
A big egg.
Yep, big egg spaceship. Yep. Gamora realizes that Drax is still outside the ship as they go through the jump point. So she goes down to the cargo hold and she grabs onto the end of his rope just as they crash land into the planet. Gamora then yells at Rocket and Peter because either one of them could have flown through the asteroid field with no problem, but they're bickering, and she said they were flying with what's between their legs instead of what's in their head. And I love Peter's line where if what's between my leg had a hand, I could have made it through there.
That is a good line.
Peter and Rocket start arguing again when Nebula interrupts and says that someone followed them through the jump point. It's the egg-shaped white ship that lands, and the man introduces himself as Ego. He tells him that he's Peter's father. Then we go to another planet where we meet Yondu and his Ravagers at like a brothel,
A prostitution planet?
Yeah. Yondu comes outside and sees Stakar or Takar?
Stakar? Is this
Stakar?
Sly Stallone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Stakar.
Stakar, I believe.
Okay. All right. So he sees Stakar, who's another one of his, another Ravager faction.
Yes.
Stakar sees him and he takes all of his men and leaves, and then he tells the madam that she just lost the business of 99 Ravager factions by serving Yondu. Yondu starts yelling at him about wanting a seat at the table, and Stakar tells him that he's not a Ravager anymore because he was selling kids. They don't deal in kids.
Yes, because
Ravagers have a code.
Yes, Stakar was also Starhawk, and Starhawks are a type of like alien superhero people or something. They're Starhawks, yes.
Then we see a very ugly Ravager from Yondu's crew. He has not been named yet, so I will hold on to
that. Oh my god.
He's talking about how Yondu is weak with a few other Ravagers, Kraglin and the guy from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, right, that guy.
Cut face.
That guy, yeah.
Then the Sovereign Queen shows up and she asks Yondu to capture the Guardians of the Galaxy and bring them back to her.
But that's a great part because they roll out the red carpet for her and get stuck.
Yes.
That's very funny.
We go back to Ego, who's telling Peter that he had Yondu pick him up after his mother died, but Yondu never delivered him. Peter tells him how terrible Yondu was to him, so Ego tells him that he should come back to his planet with him and tell him all, so he can tell him all about his heritage. Then he goes to take a piss, and Peter doesn't believe Ego, so Gamora takes him for a walk and has a talk with him. Mantis introduces herself to Drax, and she asks herself to pet Rocket, and Drax tells her she can. And obviously Rocket snarls at her, and Drax finds this hilarious, and he says that he just made up a practical joke and that it's the first one that's ever happened. He's a very humble being, Drax. Very humble. Peter and Gamora talk about how Ego could be a trap because so many people want them dead.
Mm-hmm.
But Gamora tells him to give Ego a chance because growing up, Peter always wanted a father like David Hasselhoff, and this could be his Hasselhoff. And then, if he's evil, they'll just kill him.
Yeah,
it's not a problem.
Exactly. The next day, Gamora tells Rocket to shoot Nebula if she tries to escape, and she says goodbye to Baby Groot because Rocket's going to stay behind with Groot and Nebula at their ship.
Like how they have...
No.
No, the Benatar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we lost your audio, Bill.
I don't think so. I think
Okay. You said something and nothing came out in my ears. So, the Benatar And I was going to say something. I can't remember.
Yeah, Rocket's fixing the ship,
Right.
which is why he's staying behind.
Mm.
Rocket makes a snide comment about Ego and to Peter, who tells him that he's just making everybody hate him. They're on. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I remember what I was going to say is that I like how they make Baby Groot actually act like a baby at times, where he like wants to be picked up and like wants to be cuddled by Gamora and stuff.
Yeah.
Like he actually acts like a baby.
On Ego's ship, Peter asks Mantis what her antennas are for, because he and Drax have a bet, and if it's not just so she doesn't get decapitated by doors, then Peter wins the bet, and that's not what they're for. She explains that. She explains her empathic feelings and shows them by touching Peter. And she tells everyone that Peter has sexual feelings for Gamora, and Drax erupts into laughter.
This is a very funny scene.
So Drax finds this hilarious. She just told everyone your biggest, deepest, darkest secrets. And so Mantis touches Drax, and they're both laughing at Peter.
This is the most hilarity I've ever felt.
She goes to touch Gamora, but Gamora grabs her arm and threatens to break it. So she also tells them that she can alter people's feelings, and her main use is to help Ego fall asleep. And then she demonstrates this by putting Drax to sleep.
And then he starts snoring.
Yep.
Falls down and starts snoring.
The Ravagers show up on the planet where Rocket is still fixing the ship. They start trying to sneak up on the ship, but they're very loud. And they trip a couple of Rocket's traps. He uses an anti-gravity trap in 2 different spots to just keep blasting them up into the air.
It's funny because he just keeps hitting the button and making them go up and down.
Then he hops on a bunch of their faces, placing little tasers on them, and zaps them. He gets stopped by 2 of them, which he easily dispatches by making one shoot the other and then smacking the other one in the face a bunch of times. But Yondu's arrow comes out of nowhere and is right in front of his face, so he's been captured. Yondu tells him about the bounty from the Sovereign Queen. Then we go back to the ship, and Nebula convinces Groot is trying to convince Groot to let her go to help, so she can go help Rocket, because Baby Groot can't do anything to help him. Yondu tells Rocket that they're just going to take the batteries and not bring the Guardians to.
Yeah, they're not gonna give them up. They're just gonna take the batteries.
So the ugly-faced Ravager gets mad about this.
Yes.
And we get a Mexican standoff between all the Ravagers. We do get Kraglin, one of Yondu's good followers, agree with ugly face guy.
Yeah.
Saying that, this is the one time I'm going to speak up. We shouldn't do this.
Kraglin actually turns on Yondu.
Yeah. So the Mexican standoff is happening, and then Yondu's fin gets blasted off, and it's Nebula. So she's in control now.
I love it. She just takes over.
Yeah.
Fuck you, I'm in charge.
We see the other ones get to Ego's planet. Gamora asks what Ego is, and he tells them that he's a Celestial. He's a god with a small g when he's feeling as humble as Drax. So we get Ego's backstory, and he explains how he can control the molecules around him, and he took a form that he believes life would look like. Drax asks if he has a penis. Yes, he does.
Yeah, in the comic books, Ego is strictly just a giant talking planet.
Face planet.
A giant planet.
More of a Unicron kind of deal.
Yes, with a giant face on it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Ego talks about meeting Peter's mother and loving her, and Peter asks why Ego left his mother if he loved her. Then we go back to the Ravagers, who are performing a mutiny on the ship and killing anyone who is loyal to Yondu by sending them out of the airlock into space.
Yeah.
Then, Ugly Guy is in charge, and he finally announces his name. I don't remember what he says, but he eventually says, Taserface, as if it's terrifying. And Rocket bursts out laughing because that's a ridiculous name.
Yeah, great.
He makes fun of his name a bunch, and Taserface is about to kill Rocket and Yondu, but Nebula stops him. She says she basically proves that it's financially more sound to not kill them and just bring them and get bounties for them. Kraglin gives Nebula a new hand and a ship, and she tells him about how she and Gamora would fight as children, and Thanos would keep replacing her body parts on her so that she would eventually beat Gamora, but she never did. So her plan, after getting her new arm and ship, is to go kill Gamora and then buy a fleet to go and kill Thanos. And Kraglin was just not ready for that.
No.
He was not.
Well, good luck.
Peter and Ego are talking about his mother and how Ego needs to regularly come back to the planet or he'll die. And he just couldn't bear to go back to Earth without where Peter's mother was no longer there, to go pick Peter up himself, so he sent Yondu to do it. He wants to teach Peter about the planet and the light within it because it's part of Peter too. He tells Peter how to make a little bit of electricity come from his hands, and Peter forms a ball with it, and they get to play catch, like, every day.
Right.
Son like to do.
He says earlier in the movie that he wanted to do.
Yeah. Drax asks Mantis how she got there, and she said that Ego found her in her larval form. So Drax calls her a pet and tells her that she's an ugly pet. Then he starts talking about his daughter. He's showing no emotions because that's what Drax is. And Mantis touches his shoulder to see how he's feeling, and she begins immediately to cry. She's about to tell him something when Gamora comes out and asks what's going on. Drax tells her that, Mantis responds with, "Oh, I'm learning that I'm a pet and that I'm ugly." And she goes, "You're not ugly, Drax. What? She's horrible."
What have you been saying to her?
And then Gamora wants her to show them where they're going to stay. She then asks Mantis what she was going to tell Drax, and Mantis says nothing. Rocket and Yondu are put into a cell, and Taserface has Baby Groot fitted with Ravager clothing because he's just too cute. They can't kill him.
Can't do it.
Yondu tells about how he didn't stick to the Ravager code, and he regrets it because he lost his Ravager family. Rocket tells him that Peter is with Ego and asks why Yondu didn't deliver him before. Yondu tells him it's because Peter was good for thieving, but Rocket doesn't believe him. Baby Groot is getting teased and beat up by the Ravagers. And then he starts walking, and he's walking in front of Rocket's cell. And Yondu tries to get him to bring him another prototype Finn from the captain's quarter.
Right.
Great scene.
Baby Groot
Yes.
is not the greatest at
Very good
understanding directions.
It's a very funny scene.
So he's sneaking around while everyone's asleep. And the first time he comes back with underwear. And then he comes back like 4 or 5 other times with nothing even close to the right thing.
Including a human toe. Where did you get that? Do you keep human toes on the ship? No.
And Yondu's just like, no.
So weird.
So Yandu eventually gives him a symbol with the flame symbol, the Ravager symbol. And he tells him that's on the drawer that Baby Groot needs to open. So he takes the symbol and he immediately puts it on his head like a hat. And he goes, "No, it's not even close." And we get Groot explaining that he's glad he doesn't have to wear it as a hat because he hates hats because he he hates hats because he thinks people's heads stop and then they take off a hat and then it's weird. Rock is like, "Wait, that's why you don't like hats? That's stupid."
Oh, so good.
Well, he finally gets to the drawer and he picks up a button instead of the fin, and Kraglin shows up. Then we see the fin drop onto the floor, and Kraglin is there, and he says that he didn't mean to start a mutiny, and that all his friends are dead, which is super sad. Kraglin is a sad character in this one. Like, I feel so sad.
He is sad, but he's good.
Makes a mistake.
He's very good. Yeah.
Makes a mistake. Gets everybody killed.
Yandu tells him to prepare the third quadrant, and Rocket has him start playing some of Peter's old music on the ship through the ship's intercom. And Yandu uses his arrow to kill all the Ravagers as they walk to the security room.
Awesome part. Very fun.
Baby Groot gets revenge on one of the Ravagers, who is, I'm pretty sure, the white guy from 8 Mile, not Eminem, the other white guy.
Cheddar Bob, yes.
Cheddar Bob,
yes.
yeah, Cheddar Bob. So he kills Cheddar Bob. Then we see an awesome scene where Yandu and Rocket are in the security room and they're just shooting everybody who's trying to come to them. Yandu finally sees Taserface on the camera, and he uses his arrow. He sends his arrow, and he makes it flame up, so it's going super fast. And it hits something behind Taserface because he dodges it, but it blows it up, and it starts a chain reaction. Kraglin releases part of the ship from the main ship as Taserface sends a transmission to the Sovereign, telling them this is where Yandu's ship is. He sends them the coordinates, and he says, "Just tell him the name of the man who sealed his fate, Taserface." And the Sovereign girl just laughs at him as he dies.
Oh my god.
The big ship blows up, and Rocket punches in the auto jump to Ego's planet.
Yes.
And before Yandu can stop him, he hits the button, and Yandu tells him it's not good for a mammalian body to do more than 50 jumps at a time, and they're about to do 700, and then their faces start to go.
Yeah. Funny parts where their faces get all weird.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And then we see Stan Lee.
Yep, is where we get his Stan Lee cameo.
Yes, he's with
which is a really interesting part.
Uatu. Well, I don't know if it was Uatu.
Well, there's always the theory that Stan Lee is Uatu.
Is Uatu.
Yeah, so apparently all the Stan Lee cameos are the same Stan Lee. Because he's explaining, like, well, that one time I was a mailman.
Yeah, that's right.
From, like, Captain America Civil War, where he said, I have a package delivery for Tony Stank. And
thank you for that. That's him. That's
so apparently all the Stan Lee cameos are one guy who has been teleporting between all the different places as a watcher.
Yep, Uatu the Watcher. That's like that's the theory that hasn't been confirmed, but
right,
they pretty much confirmed it here. But we go back to Peter and Gamora having a moment, and they're dancing, but she says that something doesn't feel right about the planet, and she and Peter get into an argument. She goes off to try to contact Rocket and says that she thought Peter had already found his family with them. She's sitting out on the plains when she Actually, I do love the part where she uses her sword and chops down the two little wheat things, the weeds that are growing that are making the noise while she's just trying to sit and relax. No, nobody else liked that part? Nobody thought that was funny? Okay, fuck you guys. She's sitting out on the plains when she sees a ship coming toward her. She obviously starts to run away as the ship starts shooting at her, and it's obviously Nebula, who almost runs her over a few different times and chases her while in the ship into a cave. She misses crushing her, and one of the ship's guns falls off as it gets ruined, and Gamora picks up the giant gun to shoot at Nebula, who's stuck inside the ship. The ship blows up a little bit and then falls through a hole. Nebula's still stuck inside, so Gamora jumps down to the ship and helps her out as they both get blasted backwards away from it. They start fighting again, and Nebula finally wins. They argue, and Nebula says that when they were growing up, Gamora just wanted to win, and she just wanted a sister. And there's a little moment between the two of them. Then we go to Ego, we go to Peter listening to Brandy by Looking Glass, and Ego walks in, and he explains how the sailor in the song is the two of them, and he goes into this whole thing. He tells Peter that he's immortal as long as the light in the planet exists, and tells him that they can use the light together to make the universe better. Is this where Peter tells him that he's going to make a whole bunch of weird shit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Get ready for an 80-foot statue of Skeletor and Pac-Man.
Yes, right. Which we eventually do get him making Pac-Man.
Yeah.
At some point.
Mantis wakes Drax up, and she tells him that they're in danger. Ego is trying to convince Peter to work with him, and he tells him that the meaning of his life is to take over the universe and convert it all into his light. Nebula and Gamora find a huge pile of skeletons while this is happening, and Rocket and Yondu are still jumping through space when they finally stop. I love Baby Groot just
he just throws up, spits up.
Rocket says he wants to save Peter so he can hold it over him forever, and Yondu says he's lying, and that he goes into this full explanation of why he knows he's lying, because they're the same person. Gamora attacks Mantis because she wants answers. Ego starts explaining his idea for the expansion through the universe, but he needs another Celestial to help him, which is Peter.
But the Mantis expansion is more of like, I want to kill everything kind of expansion.
Take over. Mantis tells Gamora that the bones that they found are Ego's children, who Yondu had been delivering to Ego as he looked for one of them who had a connection to the celestial light.
Yeah, this is pretty dark, this point.
Yeah, super fucked up.
And I think at one point it was supposed to be darker. I forget. I've read somewhere it was supposed to be even dark. I forget. But yeah.
Well, Ego screams that he's finally not alone. And Peter says, "What about my friends?" "Oh, don't worry about them." And then he says, "What about his mother?" And Ego says it was a hard thing to do when he had to put the tumor in her head.
What? What?
Yeah.
Breaks Peter out of his trance. Yeah. Immediately shoots Ego a bunch of times, and we see the skeleton, electric skeleton Ego.
He really can't be destroyed by just gunfire.
No.
Right. He just kind of disappears for a minute.
Does he come back as Hasselhoff now, or later? I think it was later. Ego shoves a light tentacle into Peter to use him as a battery, and then takes his Walkman and breaks it.
Shit.
The two of them are then connected to the light of the planet, which causes all the plants on the other planets that he had been seeding through the universe to start expanding and taking over the other planets that they're on. Yondu The Guardians burst into the hall, and Yondu crashes his ship into Ego, which stops the expansion. All the Guardians get onto the ship, and they start to make a plan on how to kill Ego. We see Yondu tells Peter that he didn't deliver him to Ego when he was a kid because he discovered Ego's plan. They blast into the center of the planet to try to save the galaxy again, and Rocket's glad because they can really jack up their prices after they save it again. Kraglin's still in the main ship in space, and he's waiting for them when he notices the Sovereign Fleet arrive, but he can't contact them because they're burrowing underground. Yondu asks why Ego needed him and mocks Peter for only being able to make a ball of light because he was using his head. He's like, "You think I?" Does he say it at this point? I don't think he says it at this point, but oh no, he does. He says, "You think I use my head to control this arrow?" And then cut to something else. Mantis points out the core, and Rocket starts to bore a hole into it. Kraglin finally makes contact as the Sovereign Fleet shows up inside the planet, which they got there very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So fast.
To the inside of the planet, yeah.
I guess they can do those 700 jumps because they don't have people on them.
Makes Gamora, Drax, and Mantis get thrown from the ship. Rocket makes a bomb, and he and Peter fly to the core. Drax convinces Mantis to make Ego fall asleep as the other ones fight the Sovereign ships. The bomb needs to be placed on the actual core, and only Baby Groot is small enough to fit down there.
Yes.
But again,
this is a very funny scene.
Instructions and Baby Groot don't go well.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Rocket explains what he needs to do, but he can't push. He has to push the one button, because it'll give them 5 minutes before it blows up, and if he pushes the other button, it'll just blow up immediately. Baby Groot keeps trying to push the death button instead of the 5 minutes to death button.
Which is the way he explains it too is so funny. He's like, "All right, explain it back to me. I'm Groot. I'm Groot. I'm Groot." No.
Rocket starts asking for tape, and he and Peter argue about who would have tape. Then Baby Groot just takes the bomb and starts running away, and Rocket's like, "We're all gonna die."
I also like how he says, "Do you ask Gamora or did you ask Nebula about tape?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, you didn't. You're not telling me the truth."
She was right next.
She was sitting there.
She was sitting right next to Yondu.
A little tiny little thing in there, like, what the
hell? Nebula is still inside the ship with Yondu, and she uses her arm circuits to power up the generator, which is used to power the weapons, which blow up all the Sovereign ships. I like how Yondu tells her it's going to hurt, and she goes, "Promises, promises." And he's like, "Yeah." Those two would definitely hook up. Their ship blows up too, because part of the Sovereign ship lands inside it, and it's like a bomb. Nebula and Peter and Yondu all escape, and we get the famous "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all" line.
This is very good.
You look like Mary Poppins. Was he cool? Hell yeah, he was cool. I'm Mary Poppins. Like, it almost should have been like, "I'm Mary fucking Poppins."
Yeah.
Like, it needed an F word in there.
Then we get some awesome triumphant music and a Guardians group shot, and then boom,
I love the Guardians theme.
Oh, it's
great theme.
But that group shot is so good.
Yep, and then boom, Mantis gets knocked out by a falling rock. So Ego wakes back up. Groot sees the center where he's supposed to put the bomb down, and Kraglin starts to go to the ship's surface. Peter puts his jetpack on Drax, who takes Mantis to the surface because somebody needs to be up there so Kraglin knows where to stop. Gamora and Nebula somehow fall further into the planet, land on a platform. Rocket and Yondu and Peter are fighting off Ego's light tentacles with rocks attached to them. Drax starts running to the ship on the surface. Gamora and Nebula hop on a platform that is getting pushed to the surface, make it almost all the way to the top, but crash into the side, and so they have to start climbing. Eventually, they all start getting crushed by the tentacles, and Groot starts to get crushed by the rocks in the center. Peter gets used as a battery again as the expansion begins. Ego still tries to get Peter to join him when Yondu looks at Peter and he says that he doesn't use his head to fly the arrow. He uses his heart. And he gets crushed at that part. Yep. And then we see Peter thinking about his mother and his friends.
What is it called? Oh shit! Scorsese does it in all his movies. The needle drops, where the song kicks in. Yeah. The Chain by Fleetwood Mac is so awesome.
Great song.
They drop it, it just starts dung dung dung. So good.
Did we talk about his blobs taking over the rest of other planets?
Oh no!
Yes.
Because
I kind of did.
Okay. I must have missed that part.
But
his little ego plants fertilize and almost blow up the other planets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So whenever the expansion starts again, the blobs get bigger and bigger and start.
And Dairy Queen is still in business, motherfuckers. They've been in business for 30 fucking years.
Hey, Dairy Queen is.
That's true. Yep. Peter then starts using his celestial power to fight back against Ego. Everyone stops getting crushed and the expansion stops, so save them again. Baby Groot finally is right next to Ego's brain and he puts the bomb on it. Drax gets Mantis on the ship and Nebula and Gamora make it to the surface. Baby Groot actually pushes the right button because there's a scratch on the death button, so he doesn't want to push that one. No, I don't want to push that one anymore. Yondu convinces Rocket that he needs to take Baby Groot to the surface and let Yondu himself save Peter. Rocket and Groot. Rocket gives Yondu a space pack and something to breathe in, or something like that, and they make him a guardian. Welcome to the freaking Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Groot says it.
Say freaking.
Yeah, Groot says it, and Rocket translates.
And then Rocket flies off. He's like, "We're really gonna have to talk about your language." Peter and Ego are still fighting when Rocket makes it back to the ship. Gamora asks where Peter is, and she realizes that she starts to go back to save him, but Rocket tasers her. And he tells Kraglin to blast off. Ego tells Peter that he'll be just like everyone else if he doesn't stop fighting him because he knows the bomb is going to go off. Peter says, "What's wrong with that?" And the bomb explodes. And Ego just like disintegrates.
Yeah, very cool special
turns
effects.
into like sand.
Mm-hmm. The planet is starting to blow up, so Yondu grabs Peter and he uses his jetpack to fly them into space. He puts on the spacesuit so Peter can breathe. He puts it onto Peter so he can breathe, but Yondu doesn't have one himself. So I don't understand how he can't take the suit off of himself, but he can't. And he watches Yondu freeze to death and die right in front of him.
Oh, Yondu.
Yeah. The Guardians hold a funeral for Yondu on the ship. And Peter tells how he always wanted David Hasselhoff as a dad when he was growing up, and how Yondu was like Hasselhoff in many, many ways.
Basically, he was David Hasselhoff in space.
Yep. Nebula leaves after the funeral, and Gamora stops her and apologizes to her. Nebula shares her plans to still kill Thanos, and Gamora hugs her before she leaves. So they have a nice little sister moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yondu's body is being burned in the ship's thrusters or whatever, and his ashes are being set out into space. We get a moment between Kraglin, who gives Peter a Zune that Yondu had found in a junker shop. And Peter's surprised by 300 songs. Oh my God.
Yes, this is very funny.
300?
So Peter gives him Yondu's arrow because he thought that Kraglin should have it.
Guessing Kraglin will be back in the third one.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's slated for it. Actually, Steve Gunn, the guy who plays Kraglin, was also on set Rocket. So
Sean Gunn.
Yes.
Sean Gunn,
And he's playing in Suicide Squad. He's playing, there's like this rat-looking creature that he plays. And he was the best part of Gilmore Girls.
Absolutely.
If you ever watched Gilmore Girls.
Great in Gilmore Girls.
The
Didn't
best
know.
part.
that.
Because I watched Gilmore Girls.
Of course. Great show.
He was the best. Kurt. He was Kurt in Gilmore Girls, and he was very funny.
So we get Cat Stevens' song "Father and Son" starts to play, and then we see the Ravager faction show up to honor Yondu with a Ravager funeral.
And now these Ravagers are
other Guardians of the Galaxy people.
They are the original Guardian of the Galaxy team.
Yep, the ones that we see actually salute him and stuff.
Yes, yes. Charlie 27, Martin X, who is the ice guy, Starhawk, who has talked about Sliced Load, Michelle Yeoh is like a Starhawk woman, and Mainframe.
Yeah, all kinds of awesome actors in there.
Yes.
I love Kraglin's little like celebration that the Ravagers
his
that made me cry again. I love it.
Made you cry?
So oh yeah, I love him.
Oh.
He's so good. So
the
good.
Cat Stevens song, man, is hard. That gets me close every time. Like
I think it was.
I'm pulling the dad strings. Come on.
Yeah. So Rocket appreciates that the Ravagers came because Yondu didn't push them away like the way that Rocket has been pushing away the other Guardians. And Peter tells him, he realizes that Rocket's probably going to change a little bit after this, so that's nice. Drax finally tells Mantis she's beautiful on the inside, of course. But and then what?
He should know what that means. Beautiful on the inside to Drax should not be a concept.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah. We got a lot of mid-credit scenes. So the first one is Kraglin trying to control the arrow, and he accidentally hits Drax with it.
And then just walks away.
We see the original Guardians from the comics get back together as a team. Do you know that Miley Cyrus was the voice of Mainframe?
She's Mainframe.
Yeah.
Wow. That mechanical head, the metal head. Because the thing is, in the comics, the original Guardians of the Galaxies are from a different timeline and 1,000 years in the future. So, but then the guy who is not in Advance Astro comes back in time, and I don't know. It's all very fucking confusing.
Sounds confusing as hell.
Yes, it is.
That's then we see the Sovereign Queen show her servant
Aisha.
Aisha shows her servant a new birthing pod, and she says that she's going to name him Adam for Adam Warlock.
Yes, Adam Warlock.
So he'll be the bad guy in one of the next ones.
Probably in 3.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Kind of funny because Adam Warlock was a big part of Infinity War.
Yeah, he's essentially like the main babyface.
And he did not appear in any of that.
No.
Even though this movie came out before it.
Because he is essentially like a space messiah.
Yeah.
But he's
Aisha is slated to be in Guardians 3.
Yeah.
So Adam Warlock is probably going to be in Guardians 3.
Yeah, he will be.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he is, because I think he originally started as like kind of like a robot type of thing, but then he turned into like this messiah thing he is now. So
we see teenage Groot playing his video game in his room, and Peter comes in and yells at him to clean up his room. And finally, we see Stan Lee talking to the Watchers again, and that's the end.
I appreciate when they have a bunch of credit stuff.
How many were there? Like 6? It was a lot.
There's one.
Usually it's like 1 or 2.
3, 4, 5. There was 5 of them. Yeah. Did you also notice that in the credits, there, as it was scrolling up, you would see "I am Groot," and then about halfway up, it would change to the person's name.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're dancing, like during the credits, they're all dancing.
Yeah. We see David Hasselhoff right before the end.
And the song is David Hasselhoff. The final song when the credits play is sung by David Hasselhoff. Yeah.
Yes, which is a very funny music video that you should find, because
it's like all funny about the story. It's very silly. Yeah,
Bill,
great.
How'd you like
another good one.
It was enjoyable, but the first one, this had a better soundtrack. The first movie was definitely better. This movie had like scenes that I just thought, like, why is this still going on? Like, how much do we need to see that Peter and his dad are trying to figure it out?
Yes.
It's good though. I still enjoyed it, but the first one was better.
I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. I still think I like the first one better, but there's some great stuff in this one. It's not bad, certainly. Very close. Yeah, I look forward to more Guardians of the Galaxy movies coming out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can't get enough of them.
Someday.
Cannot get enough.
I guess we'll see if it's as Guardians of the Galaxy or not. Is that going to happen?
Did you guys see something about Disney going to more streaming stuff instead of like actual releases?
Yeah, I think they're like realizing like, the next few years are going to be pretty tough. No, going to be pretty tough. So let's just switch to streaming for now.
There's probably no movie theaters that are going to be open in the next 6 months.
And closed all of them?
Yeah,
I've closed a lot.
For the next 2 years, just the movie business ain't going to be a good business. So they're just like, let's focus on streaming.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing. Essentially, and then in 5 years they'll be like, we've got a new thing. We're gonna go, when everything's back, and everyone's feeling better, they'll change it up again.
We'll see. Yeah. We will see. All right, Bill, you're up next.
All right. I was hoping to follow up last year due to the spooky time of year we're in, and go back to David Arquette and watch Scream 2. However, unfortunately, I cannot seem to find that on any readily available service.
That's surprising.
Yeah, I was shocked. I actually only looked so I could say like, oh, hey, like this is where we can watch it. But I can't find it on Netflix or any of them.
Wow.
So
what's going on, you guys?
David Arquette in a different movie.
Oh, no.
It's probably worse. Bone Tomahawk from 2015.
Oh, I heard this was a good movie.
Hell?
I heard this was a good movie.
David Arquette.
I heard it's very violent.
Bone Tomahawk.
Yes.
Didn't we just watch a Tomahawk movie? What was that called?
Mohawk.
This
is not the set.
Where is this available to us?
It is available at least on Amazon Prime. It may be elsewhere, but it's at least on Prime.
Okay. Bone Tomahawk, starring David Arquette. Who else is in there?
Kurt Russell.
Huh?
Matthew Fox.
Matthew Fox. What happened to his career? My God.
People you'll recognize. It looks like maybe the guy that plays the clown in the terrible DDP movie might be in it.
Oh no, that guy.
Patrick Wilson, Richard Jenkins. These are
faces.
Oh,
Patrick Wilson, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
you'll recognize a lot of people in here.
is this a horror movie? It is.
It is listed as drama, horror, western.
Okay. Another Kurt Russell movie. 2 in a row. Back to back Kurt Russell.
3 in a row. Oh, no, he wasn't in the first one.
He was in the first one. Yeah. Matthew Fox. What happened to him? My
Was he the
God.
guy from Lost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got like
Okay.
super crazy. He did some like weird shit after Lost.
Did he like, dude, get addicted to drugs or something?
I don't think that. I don't know.
Wow. Crazy. All right. That's what's next. Okay. That is it. It's the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy until we get more Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we can do more. Yay.
Mm-hmm. Well, we
All
could
right.
always do Infinity War and Endgame.
True.
Can.
We could do those. They're very good movies. Bill will be fully caught up on all things Marvel if that would happen in a weird kind of way by skipping a lot of the other things. What's that?
I don't know much about Thor.
Nope.
I don't know much about Captain America.
He's important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of.
He's pretty important.
just a little bit.
All right. Peace out.